So, Sheikh, you suggested that in our previous podcast with the conversations with some of our new sisters in Islam, right, that they could bring some of the practices in Ramadan, like iftar, to their non-Muslim family members, invite them for dinner, and as far as before it starts, maybe ask them to make a short prayer. So, wanted to clarify. We have some questions about it. Could you help us elaborate? Can Muslims and non-Muslims also make prayers together?
Okay. Thank you for your question. And a Muslim, the believer, always ought to be concerned for their belief, right? So this type of conversation and these sorts of questions are valid and are important. Let us just put the viewers who might have not seen the podcast itself, just put them in context. The question was about how do we deal with family members if they're not so welcoming of our becoming Muslim and going through the fasting of Ramadan and so on and so forth. So my suggestion then was perhaps those family members are weary, they're anxious, worried, concerned that once their son or daughter became a Muslim, once their brother or sister became a Muslim, they will kind of put themselves in a cocoon, in some kind of a confinement within the family. They will not share what they used to share with the family anymore. They want to do their own thing, on their own, by their own, away from everybody else. So my suggestion was, don't let them feel that because you're fasting during the month of Ramadan, you cannot share the dinner table with them. So bring them to the dinner table. Say, I can, let's say over the weekend, I'll cook, the dinner, which is, for the Muslim, it's their breakfast, right? So I'll cook it and then I'll prepare it and let us all join as we used to join before. Now comes the part about prayer. The issue is that the concern is how can we live as a family in harmony despite of the different beliefs. If we used to unite at a dinner table where the father or the mother, whomever, the leader of the household used to do a prayer, and now they don't feel comfortable anymore because the Muslim is not joining with them, right? So my idea was, invite them to the dinner table, ask them to do what they used to do, and ask them as well that you yourself as a Muslim, can you share a prayer as well, right? Now, when we look at the different schools of jurisprudence in terms of two things, we have two things here. One, can we ask a non-Muslim to make a prayer for us? This is the first question. Number two, if they make a prayer, can we say Ameen? All right? So these are two issues. Number one, if we can ask them, if the idea of asking them to make a prayer for us, there are certain conditions, and I think they're contextually apparent, but I will mention them so that people would know. As long as this prayer is not about disbelief, right? So it's not about something that would. It's not like they're asking that the Muslim becomes a non-Muslim, right? Because that will be contradicting, right? So as long as it's not about disbelief, and when we come to that prayer, when we are asking the father or the mother, can you pray for me? They're asking for your success. They're asking for the family's prosperity. They're asking for the family's union. They're asking for the family's strength and support. They're asking that their household remain together. These are the type of things that people would normally pray and ask for at the dinner table. They're not necessarily, making a prayer that so-and-so would become according to that other belief. Obviously, if that is their dua, then the Muslim will not say Ameen, right? Because they're steadfast, they have firm belief in Islam and so on and so forth. So, they will gently say, I understand your concern. This is what you believe is best for me, and I appreciate that you're seeking what is best for me. And that's it. Right? But if they're making a dua about the prosperity of the family, the success of the family, the unity of the family, and so on and so forth, there's no problem to ask them to make the dua in this case, nor that there'd be a problem if you ask them, if they make the dua and you say Ameen. In fact, one of the late Shafi'i scholars, Imam al-Azhary, as quoted by one of the late Egyptian Azhari scholars of the Shafi'i madhab, Allama Shabramillisi, in his Hashia on Nihayat al-Muhtaj. He says, it's not only permissible, but we can say that it is recommended that we say Ameen when they make a dua that brings them a good or goodness or benefit for them and us in this world and the hereafter. Then there's no problem in saying Ameen. Then actually you'll be recommended to say Ameen. The only concern with them making the dua, I mean, the scholars, while you might find some of them take more conservative positions about asking the non-Muslim to make a dua and so on and so forth, but there's a group of scholars who say it's permissible. They might provide a condition. They say it's permissible as long as that the non-Muslim believes in some form of a monotheism, right? Now it becomes problematic a little bit if they believe in more than one deity. So if they're making the dua then to more than one deity, what you get as a Muslim is it's like a wish, right? So they make a wish. They're basically making a wish that the family is successful, is united, is strong, is prosperous, has long life, happy life, that type of thing. You can attend whatever that prayer that they're making, right? And you then provide your share of that wish, provide that share of the prayer. Ultimately, the condition, as long as this prayer is not contradicting one's belief. As long as it is not contradicting one's belief in any, whether explicitly or implicitly, as long as that is respected, and as long as this condition is maintained, then there's no problem of asking for the dua or making the ta'meen, saying Ameen after a dua. Does that make sense? Is it clear enough? Yeah.
I think two things I really take away is that one of the biggest reassurances to a convert is that Islam as a religion, the more you learn about it, as you've also explained today, it allows for a space for converts to also enjoin within their family practices, right? And it's indeed true that just because I become a Muslim does not mean that I become enclosed in a cocoon, right? I can only do things with Muslims and not non-Muslims. And I think the important pathway to this is my second point, which is another takeaway that if you don't know, you have to ask. Right, I think one beautiful thing was that we record a podcast and then after we're thinking, hey, this is something that a question that a convert might have, right? And here we're asking and we're clarifying, and it's through these sessions where we build spaces where converts can ask these questions, where they start to realize that it's possible to blend my practices as a Muslim together with my family culture, right? And this really eases the journey of a convert. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome, and I apologize if I know I went a little bit into the referencing, but this is important because maybe the viewers, they might think that this is the opinion of Ahmed al-Azhary. I just wanted them, we were contextualizing what is in the traditional books, and I wanted them to know that these sort of ideas or concerns or questions were already addressed by previous scholars, maybe not in the same context of a convert within a family in Singapore or beyond, but we can take whatever they discussed and so on and so forth and contextualize it to our own circumstances. Yeah. So yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Feel free if there's any other questions coming up from any practices that you might have, any concerns you might have, feel free to reach out to Convert Central. We'll be happy to link you up to any of the local scholars that we have, and if as well as needed, we will be happy to link up any questions to Sheikh Ahmed as well. And inshallah, thank you so much for attending our podcast session and coming out for a round 2 with us.
Thank you.
It is really a blessing to have had gotten you to come on this series with us in Ramadan.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Allah accept your Ramadan, accept our Ramadan, and inshallah, once again, we would like to request for you to assist us to end this podcast with reciting Tasbih Kafar and a short dua.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.